Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for inviting us to speak about personal branding and impact. It is a very important subject, as Helen said. So just a quick background on myself. I'm Nancy Scott. My early career started in the charity sector, working with social and economic regeneration, and then I moved into recruitment and headhunting, starting at PricewaterhouseCoopers, working across public sector, central government, local government, and the charity sector, recruiting executive directors as well as non-executive directors. And then a few years ago, I set up a recruitment company. I suppose my claim to fame there was helping recruit the executive team for Olympic Delivery Authority, the people who built the Olympics. In between that, since then I've joined Gayton B Sanderson as partner of local government last year. I also am a director for a technology company, and I'm a trustee for a charity called P3 that support very vulnerable people in society. That's me in a nutshell, and I'll catch up with you a bit later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to now call on Delicia to introduce herself. Hi, Delicia.
Hi everyone, I'm Delicia Coutinho and I'm a researcher here at Gayton B Sanderson. I've had an interesting way into Gayton B Sanderson actually, as I started off in teaching. So I have worked in the public sector myself. I did that for about 6 years. I worked in a variety of schools, from Christian schools to sort of a very inner city schools to Jewish schools as well. So quite a mixed bag there. And I decided to do my master's in organizational psychology, and I found Gayton B Sanderson after a number of years of working in executive search. So I have worked in the private sector as well, serving sort of clients in manufacturing, as well as sort of infrastructure, rail, all of that kind of fun stuff. And then I finally came to Gayton B Sanderson. So over here, I actually specialize in local government and housing, really focusing on diversity and getting some really good people into the sectors. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you very, very much. So now I'm going to hand over to Nancy, and she's going to take us through the presentation. Please do ask questions through the chat box, and if you know, and then we will take them at intervals. If it's really, really pressing and you just want some clarification, you can use the hand signals, and then we can also interrupt the presentation at that point. But best to use the chat room, and we will then, you know, ask questions at intervals or at the end of the presentation. So over to you, Nancy.
Thank you. I think Del will put up the slides. So I think the important thing for us to remember that we're not very good at selling ourselves, and whether we like it or not, we are a brand. When we work for employers, we are a product that they are selling to, whether we're selling as a consultancy or delivering something, we are a product of our company. And so we need to think about our brand. Why is it important? It's important because it helps us differentiate ourselves. It's about thinking about new opportunities. So the whole point of today is about building your reputation through networking, why it's important. And we're going to focus on LinkedIn more specifically, because whether we like it or not, the way the world works now is pretty much online. And by the end of it, we would like you all to build confidence in terms of how you can look at building up your personal brand, and in particular online presence. So so we all know we're all part of a journey. You know, 18 months ago, 2 years, was I comfortable about my personal brand? Probably not. My brand has personally changed from my early stage of my career to where I am now, but nobody even told me about these things. So it's very important when we're talking to our candidates that you are more mindful of your brand and what does that mean, and how you can start building that up. So some of you may be further along the journey, some of you may not even thought about it, but we hope that by the end of it you will have some hints and tips in terms of, you know, being more informed that you need to have one, how you build your presence, offline and online, but more in particular online is what we're going to be focusing on as we progress through this seminar. So yeah, so why is brand important? You can't ignore it. We all have it, and we need to think about how you're building it. So things that why it's important, because having a brand is all about showing the crowd how you can stand out. You know, it refers to your career reputation. It's an indication of your performance, what you're going to bring. And when you have a brand, a personal brand, you know, it gives you more opportunities. It will give you access to wider networks, opportunity to work on more interesting projects, job interviews. We find you as recruiters, and you know, and it's think about what have I done before? How can I do things more? And then we start thinking about how you can grow your brand, which we need to. So the visibility of how you professionally develop yourself will be a byproduct of you having worked on your personal brand. So so what do we do? What do we do when we think about these things? We need to think about, you know, we know people like Oprah, Trump, Elon Musk. It all creates a reaction, and it doesn't matter what level you're at, we all have one. So we know we have one, and I always use this analogy, and Adele's heard me talk about it all the time. You know, when somebody invites you to a party, the first thing you say is like, who's going? And if it's Nancy's going, you say, yeah, I'm in, I'm coming, because they have a brand. You think, you know, they're going to be fun, they're going to be interesting, there's something. If you say, oh, Helen's coming, it's like, okay, I'll get back to you. And if it's Dell's, like, well, I'm busy. So this is an indication of brand, right? How do you make people feel? Do people want to hang out with you? Do they find you interesting? So these are all things. So how do we do that is going to be really important. And we all do it. So even if you think, if you're a project coordinator, you know, are you a go-to person? Does your director go to, is like, you know what, it's not her job, but she's always really helpful, or she always knows how to do this. So building up your technical knowledge in your field is really important, because you want people to technically trust you, that you're you know what's going on and you have an opinion. So that's how you're building your reputation offline, because your network, whether it's a purposeful network or your work network, unintentional, intentional networks, people have a feeling about you, and you need to know what that feeling is, and that feeling will come from your 360 feedback. So if you respect people's opinion, why don't you go and ask them, what do they think about you? You know, if you've gotten a compliment about a job, find out why they like that piece of work. And these are really important characteristics in terms of how you know what your brand is. And then you will start finding that you'll start getting invited to things that may not be technically related to what you're doing, because people respect your opinion. So we need to start thinking about how you build the layers of your reputation. And it starts from it can start at any stage, but for me, nobody ever told me that this was really important. I didn't even know what it was. And as we coach people, you realize the people that are going further are the ones who have a reputation. You know, how does Dell do her job? How do I do my job? Who's in the market? Who do we know? And the first thing we do is we go on social media. So an online presence is important. Even though you're not comfortable with it, you need to get comfortable. So as the first place employers look, as the first place recruiters look, what are people saying about you? What are you about? What are you liking? What are you interested in? So you need to think about your content and what your presence is on the professional networks, which is LinkedIn. And a lot of you know, Dell's going to go into this a bit more further. You know, even though you might not be in LinkedIn, I'm sure you're on Facebook, Instagram, things. So some of you, particularly at the early stages in your career, are probably more comfortable with having an online presence, even though you don't think it's important, you still have one. Thank you. Del, next slide.
So I will take over from this bit, if that's okay, Nancy, and you can just come in when needed. So why social media? Nancy has talked about why this is incredibly important already. It is the first place that we're going to look. So when I'm looking for candidates, I will find people on, their own websites through sources and things like that. But if you do have a LinkedIn or you do have some form of online presence, it just makes it a little bit easier for me to have a look and see whether you are right for a role that we are working on, for example. And then that will allow me to sort of say, okay, I've got, something to talk to you about as well, more specifically, and why I like your profile, just sort of adding that in as well. But also it's a great tool for networking as well. I've actually met a lot of people over LinkedIn. I joined here in September. Nancy joined a little bit before me, but I've not actually met anybody in person. It's a little bit weird to say that, but it is what it is at the moment. But it's this whole, I'm online and everybody knows me online now. And it's this whole networking aspect that has become an even bigger thing during the pandemic, I think, especially online. Because pre-pandemic, we'd get invited to go to networking events and things like that, where you'd meet people who would not necessarily be online. But, since the pandemic has happened, it's just something that it's just essential really to actually have. Also, a lot of employers will look you up on LinkedIn as well. So when they're thinking about maybe offering you a role, they will most likely go on there to see what's on there, but not necessarily just looking on LinkedIn. They probably look if you are active on Twitter, maybe. A lot of organizations do use Twitter as well, and other social media as well. They probably want to check you out. But also it's a great way for keeping your knowledge up to date as well. So knowing what's happening currently in your sector, for example. There's a lot of leaders within the sector. So lots of, I'm just talking about chief planners, as this is the planning network. So they will be posting a lot of stuff and really relevant material, which, you should really be, I guess, reading and maybe commenting on as well. And I'll come on to that in a little bit anyway, but it's just, it's such a great tool, and it's been specifically created to actually allow us to network and look for roles and just create that online presence as well. And we had around 26% of our applications through Gates & Sanderson actually came from LinkedIn as well. So not all of the roles, I mean, you do get some roles that are, or a lot of roles that are advertised on LinkedIn. So just to give you that sort of idea as well. I will move on to the next slide, and I want a little bit more interaction, or some interaction, I guess, on this. But how many of you...
Can I just say something just before you go on?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want people to be afraid of the word networking, right? Because it can sound quite mercenary and quite clinical. Yeah. And in my mind, it's all about making friends, professional friends. So don't be scared of that word. And there are offline and online. And at the moment it is online. And going back to Dale's point about due diligence of employers, and somebody put something on the chat, is it a negative thing not to have a LinkedIn profile? I'll probably say, not negative, but it doesn't bode well, because you want to show you're current and you're on top of technology, and this is a good indication of it. And also 70% of employers are looking at social networking sites before they're making an offer. So, if you're invisible, it will just look like, what are they doing? And so to be more visible, we need to have an online presence. Sorry, Dale.
No, that's absolutely fine. That's a really good point, Nancy. Thank you so much for that. So I can just see that's come from the chat, actually. So I can't actually see the chat function because I've got this open. Helen or Nancy, if you guys can let me know how many people are saying that they're active on social media personally. So this will be things like, the classic Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat I've put on there. Some people tend to use that as well, Twitter, this kind of stuff. Do we have a hands up function on this? I know, or maybe reactions actually, because we use it differently on Teams, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, there is
If you carry on, I can do a poll and people can vote. Okay, so if you
Yes.
leave that on quickly, I will just add it as a question.
Thank you.
Just hold on a second, add the question. So it's how many people, sorry, where am I not typing this in? Okay, how many people, how many of you, sorry, how many of you
Somebody's
are
just asked a
active?
question that some people may not be able to have a digital profile for very personal reasons. And that's a really important, valid point. But that's why personal networking as well as a social media networking is important, because, you know, if you're telling people, you know, if you have 4 or 5 people that you trust and you're saying, look, I'm looking for a job, or they give you feedback on an interesting project, even though you may not have a digital footprint, somebody else may, and they might say, oh, actually, you know, Nancy's not on LinkedIn, but, you know, I'm going to get in touch with her for you to see if she's interested in a job. So that's why the personal networking complemented by social media is important. And if you can't be on social media for a variety of reasons, and there are lots of reasons why people choose not to, that's why I try to do that personal networking and through emails and things like that. So don't think it's the only forum, but it does help. But you know, identify ambassadors that are who will be an advocate for you through your networks. That's important as well. You know, if you're being mentored by someone, find a mentor. If you don't know how to find a mentor, speak to your line manager, speak to your friend. You know, we have an informal network that we don't think of as a network, but there are people around you that can help promote who you are and what you're doing. So yes, we are focused on social media because that is the way the modern world, but we are very mindful not everybody's on there. And that's why us actively networking with people and checking who's mentoring, who's coaching is important to us as well. I hope that answers your question.
Yep. So I can see this has come up actually. So how many of you are active on social media?
So I've made the poll live, and the results that we're getting is 86% of participants are on LinkedIn, 0% on Facebook, 10% on Instagram, 0% on other. So it looks like most people are online. It's now 92%. I'm sure that it's, you know, so that's quite a high number of people who are active on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Okay. So the next question was actually how many of you are actually active on LinkedIn, but I think we've answered that already. So, and I mean, Twitter as well, I just want to touch on that. I don't personally use Twitter. I have in the past though, but I haven't quite used it at Gaten v Sanderson. But actually a lot of key people within industries do use Twitter. And also people do advertise roles on Twitter as well. And a number of people have said to me, we have contacted this chief exec or this hiring manager on Twitter, and you know they've been able to sort of take things offline, but initially started online on Twitter. So it's something that is definitely growing. So just want to sort of put that out there. Did you want to add anything, Nancy?
No, and I think the other thing is to say that we do have different personas, right? You know, as the world changes, you know, people are doing 2, 3, multiple things. So it's just kind of, you know, trying to find a tone that, you know, 3 or 4 things that you're involved in and kind of comment or even like just to build your confidence. That's what I did when I first had to, I was so freaked out about trying to put stuff on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I just liked things just to kind of things that I was personally interested in. And as I look over my feeds, I realized there were certain topics that I was liking. So you start creating your kind of voice in terms of you tend to like certain things or not like certain things. So, you know, you can build it up over time. Don't feel the pressure that you've got to do it straight away. And then, you know, I just started off by liking things, people that I knew, that I liked and what they were saying. And then eventually I got braver and braver. So we're all on a journey. So don't feel pressurized, but, you know, start off with things that you like. And then you do have different personas, whether it's you belong to a church or a club or you know, or work. So, you know, think about the layers of your profile as well, I'd say.
Definitely a good point as well. So I'm going to come on to very basics now in terms of, you know, what do you need to put on a LinkedIn. I have noticed though, a lot of people don't put a photo. And I think it's quite essential to actually put a photo of yourself on there, because you're more likely to get that interaction if you actually do put a picture on there. And make sure it looks like you as well. I spoke to one of my colleagues, and I just said to her, "Oh my God, your picture is, I didn't even think it was you," kind of thing. And it was a very old photo. So, you know, it's best to be kept up to date with your photo is what I'm saying. And also make sure that your picture is about 60% of the image. So you're actually visible there. And I always recommend wearing what you'd wear to work in this photo as well. Sometimes I've seen, I mean, pictures of people with their kids and or with like a dog or something like that. My recommendation is just you and what you'd wear to work. And just
LinkedIn is more
very,
about professionals, being a
yeah,
professional, isn't it? You know, it's not your
absolutely.
Facebook, you know, so remember who the audience is.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a question. Just put it at the answer what you think is in the chat anyway. So, professional LinkedIn photo makes your profile how many times more likely to be viewed? So it would be good to see what you guys think.
Someone's put 70%, someone's put 5 times more, 60% more. What's the answer, Dale?
Yeah, it's 14 times more.
14.
Like, yeah. So yeah, so it definitely, I mean, the number of times I will click on people's profile just because they've got a picture on there as well, you know, just saying anyway, as recruiters, that's what we're doing. And another space you could really add something in is the background. So there's a sort of standard LinkedIn one, but the ones that actually catch my eye would be the people who are actually putting something there. So it could be a picture, and you know, pictures speak 1,000 words, but it could either be something that's fitted in with your personal brand, or it could be something to do with the company that you work for. So this is one I've got from Gaten B. Sanderson, which I feel is all about me as well. So finding better leaders, shaping a better society. So just an example there. And another thing as well, which I've done recently actually and made a change to this is this section over here, a lot of people just tend to put their job title. So, you know, my job title is Senior Researcher for Local Government and Housing. I've actually changed it to Recruiting Senior Leaders for Local Authorities. So this is basically saying what I actually do rather than people wondering what I'm doing. And I have noticed actually since changing this, I've got more profile views. So I think it definitely works as well. And it's something that I would encourage you to add on there as well. Or you can also put things on there in terms of what you are about as well. So I know a few people put things on there like you know, transformation or change management, or planning or whatever it is. So just a few keywords as well, if you want, can go on there as well. And just moving on to a couple of other things as well within your LinkedIn as well. So the about section, I would say keep it to the point. I mean, I've kept mine very much to the point here, but it's really the place to say who you really are and what matters to you as well. So I know some people will sort of say, you know, interested in these sort of things, or you know, I guess talking about planning, what kind of planning you are currently doing or have experience in, so whether it's town planning or whatever it is. So just giving you an example there as well. So really it's a place to add your story and who you are and what really matters to you. Nancy, did you want to add anything there?
I'd say it's like your elevator pitch. It's your bio, isn't it? In 4 or 5 sentences, what are you about? So if you're a planner, or you know, like my career, you know, I've worked in 2 different sectors. What am I interested in? Dale's a psychologist. You know, it's just like, if I don't know anything about you, what 3 things do you want me to know about you? Because people's attention spans, you know, CVs, we've said already, are very, very boring in previous sessions. So we need to be short, snappy, and kind of gives a quick flavour of what you're about, which is intriguing enough to want us to know more.
Exactly. And just to sort of add as well, in terms of experience wise, because I know a lot of people sort of say, well, you know, do I just sort of put my title where I work and that's it? What I would say is definitely put your job title over here instead of towards the top. And you don't have to have something that's super long here. What's really good is if you can have a little bit of description about what the organization you work for actually does, and then talk about what your role actually is. So you can either list this, but don't put too many things on there. I mean, this is also a great way to actually put in your keywords, which will actually enable us to find you when we do a search on LinkedIn, that is. So, or even, yeah, I mean, we will sort of do Boolean searches and things like that, and then we will find people through these keywords. So just think about, you know, what kind of words will get you, or keywords will get you noticed. So this is the place to, or one of the places that you can actually put this across. So I've actually worked for 3 organizations in executive search, and they're basically listed here. So yeah, so this is just a snapshot anyway. My teaching stuff's a little bit below, but I haven't snapshotted it here just because, just for space and stuff like that. So yeah, so, and another thing as well, people do ask, how long do I go back in terms of experience? Nancy, do you have any thoughts on this?
I suppose it depends what's been interesting in your career, and certain milestones that you think others would be interested in. And again, it goes back to, you know, the LinkedIn profile or any social media profile like your CV. It's an evolving feast depending on where you are in your career. If you're happy where you are, you're going to be promoting the projects to promote your organisation, to promote you. So you'll have a different level of achievement and detail compared to if you're looking for a job and then you put different things in. So again, know your audience, what's going on at this moment in time in your career, what are you looking to do? If you're going for promotion, you want to be seen as a commentator, you're on top of things. So yeah, I think it's a judgment call, but I mean, you know, the older, the more career experiences you have, you know, the less important some of the more earlier projects. But to be honest, I'll always put the fact that I worked on London Olympics on there because I'm so proud of it. But that was a really long time ago. But even so, there'll be certain milestones that you always want to promote. So it's a judgment, but it will change. It's not a static document. And like your CV, your biography, your summary that you might want to put in when you're doing a speech or a talk, or, you know, when you're doing presentations, it will change depending on your audience. So it's hard work. I'm not going to say it's not hard work. It's really hard work, but to be on top of it, to build your reputation, to progress in your career, to be invited to different things, you need to have a moving document.
Yeah, and one other thing I'd say as well is definitely put your unpaid stuff on here as well. I'll give you an example where I spoke to someone a few months ago for one of our non-exec roles, and I said to him, "Oh, is this the first time you're going to be, you know, considered for a non-exec position?" And he said, "No, I'm a full board member at one of these housing associations, and he's also doing a lot of other stuff." And I said, "Well, how are we supposed to know that if it's not on your profile? You've got all your executive stuff on there, but you haven't put your non-exec stuff. So if you're a trustee, definitely put it on there. You know, if you're a governor or have done, you know, volunteering experience, you've got that sort of experience, it's definitely worth putting it on there, because it's not just going to be for, you know, organizations looking to have you for a 9-to-5 job, you know, every single day. They may be even looking for, you know, people to sit on, you know, a board as a trustee or something like that, you know, because at the end of the day, they are looking for people who are going to bring something else. So it's just worth putting them there from my experience anyway, and I'm sure Nancy will say the same too.
No, absolutely. It makes you more interesting. Nobody wants to work with boring people, right? So, you know, it makes you interesting and interested in other people. And it's about, you know, when you look at values of an organization or values of a, you know, of a seminar that you want to attend, are they aligned? Are they, you know, are they talking your language in terms of how you want to think about how society is working or a particular topic? Because you will have a view, and our wider interests shape our view. And this is, you know, all the trendy words, we want bringing your authentic self to work. So this is part of bringing your authentic self to the visibility of others.
Absolutely. And I've got a question actually, so just to put into the chat. So listing your current job title in your experience rather than your summary makes your profile how many times more likely to be viewed? So answers in the chat function. Okay, so we've got 10, 26. Okay, we've actually got the correct answer there. So it's 5 times more likely to be viewed actually. So thanks for that. And just talking a little bit about networking as well. So I've got 500 plus connections. If you have more than that, this is what happens. But if you've got less than that, it actually tells you how many you have. So the more connections, more opportunities, basically. One of my colleagues suggested, you know, syncing your contacts with your email address book. That's always a helpful thing to do. Just a way to sort of open up your contact list as well. And a couple of things really in terms of skills and things like that. So, I mean, I've done quite a bit of psychology in terms of jobs and studies and things. So I've got quite a few for that, time management, teaching, as I used to be a teacher. So lots of different things that people can actually endorse you for in terms of your skills. You can ask for these or people just give you them, whichever way really. But it really backs up what you say that you actually do. And also when we are looking for people in terms of keywords, say for example, if we're looking for someone who's got experience in say recruiting, or I'm just looking at mine right now, research or something like that, I would come up in someone's search because those are the keywords which are on my profile. So definitely spend some time thinking about which skills you want to promote and ask some people to endorse you for it. It's really easy. You literally just have to ask them, and they just have to go on your profile and just say which ones they want to endorse you for, and that's it really. So yeah, and another question, listing 5 skills makes your profile how many times more likely to be viewed? So just 5 skills.
Whilst people answer that question, if you're looking for a job and there's certain jobs you've got in mind, you might want to put particular words that are in the job descriptions that you've seen, because it's all about search engine optimization. So researchers and recruiters will put in keywords and see what comes up. So if you're looking for a job or you've seen a job that you're interested in, you know, put those words into your profile somewhere so it will come up in the search.
Absolutely. So we're getting some interesting answers actually, and I'll give you the answer now. It's 31. So I've seen 5 and 10 there. So it's actually 31 times more likely to be viewed, which I was quite surprised by, but should I be? Maybe not. So yeah, so it's definitely worth putting those skills and making sure that people endorse you for them as well. And then I'm going to come on to recommendations actually. So I feel that this is something that, you know, if a prospective employer is going to look at your profile and they see that you've been recommended by someone, whether you've worked for them or if they're a client or whoever it is, it's definitely going to help. So I recently had one from someone that we placed into Haringey actually, who's recently started actually last week. So, you know, a really nice recommendation, and it's just a good way really for people to get an insight into the way that you work and your personality as well, I think, rather than, you know, just looking at your experience and whatever else it is that's on your profile. Any other thoughts on this, Nancy?
No, I think it just makes people more human, and I think Taha was, you know, he's very savvy as well in terms of. But it's a great comment, and it's, you know, one of many that Dell's had, to be honest. But it's nice that he's made the effort, and also it just shows the kind of people that Haringey, London Borough Haringey, are hiring, that they've taken that care. Like, you know, he's a really busy person, but he still took time to do that. So it starts giving you an indication of different cultures of different organisations as well. They're all clues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, there's no harm in asking for recommendations as well. You know, people that you've worked with, especially, you know, it could be manager maybe you worked with in the past as well. I'm sure they'd be, you know, happy to give you one as well. So yeah, and another question.
But don't be offended if they don't, because sometimes people feel like they can't because of the position that they're in. Particularly in public sector, sometimes it can be difficult for them, especially if they're quite eminent. We've all seen what's happened in the press recently with various people. But so yeah, don't be offended if they don't. But if they do, and if it's unsolicited, it's even better.
Exactly. So just a question here. So how many people get hired through LinkedIn in the UK each year? So I'm just going to say think big.
I think people are too scared to put the number in now.
Oh, okay. So I can see, oh, we've got the correct answer here. So it's actually 70,000. So if you think about it, it's basically 1,343 per week, which basically means 270 per working day, which is quite a bit actually. So, you know, if you're looking for your next role, definitely have a look on LinkedIn as well, because it's a pretty powerful tool actually. Anything else, Nancy, before I move on to sharing and commenting?
No, other than the fact that, you know what, LinkedIn is here to stay. You have to decide if you're on the bus or not. And, you know, you need to figure out a way of just increasing your confidence, really.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to show you a little bit about when you share something, where it goes on LinkedIn. This will actually appear on your profile. So on mine, it seems to appear just under my about section. So if someone wants to go on there, they can see what my activity has been. And it will be things that you've liked, things that you've commented on. So I shared this, that I'm very excited to speak today. And I also shared a role that I was doing recently, and I've also commented on, you know, when people have, say, for example, Nadeem has recently published a book, so I commented on that. I think I said, yes, I said congratulations. So yeah, so it's just things like this that do appear, and this is not the only place that it's going to appear on. It will appear on people's feeds and things like that. I would say that's a good thing, because people are going to see what you're liking and commenting on, and they will be able to get a bit of a flavor about you as well. And if they are clicking into you, it's going to mean that, you know, there are people who are clicking into your profile. More profile clicks equals, you know, you are getting noticed. So I will come on to what you sort of, you know, should be sharing, because a lot of people have said to me, okay, you know, I've been told to share, but what exactly it is I need to share, how am I going to share it, where am I going to find this content? So I'm going to cover it now. So what I would suggest is, because LinkedIn is a professional network, right? Do share content from the area that you're working in. So I would always say, you know, think like your audience. What do they actually want to see? So, you know, what do they want to read? What do they want to watch or listen to? Videos are pretty good. So, you know, if you've got a video that you want people to watch, and you know, it's something that really speaks volumes in terms of what you're interested in, share it. People are more likely to look at videos than just read an article. Also, a tip here is have a look at your LinkedIn list. You can download your network or LinkedIn contact list and see how many people are within a certain field. Then you will sort of know, do I need to build connections in, or do I need more connections in this sort of in this certain area or something like that? So if you're a planner, do you need to maybe connect with, you know, chief planners and sort of, you know, senior planners or whoever it is, just giving an example here. So, you know, or people who are working in placemaking or whatever it is. So just to give you an idea in terms of, you know, who you should be connecting with on LinkedIn as well. If you don't want to connect with someone, you can always follow them as well. And then that way you can see whatever they're posting, like, and then you can like it, comment, that kind of thing as well. So content can be things like, you know, things that are being released from your organization. So we've got a very good marketing team here at Gates & B Sanderson. and they will post things like articles, news, insights, and things like that as well. So it's quite good to share something that has been put out already by your organization. So, whether it's research or whatever it is. And one thing I would say as well is I always like to share something that I feel is actually going to add some real value to my network or my audience. So whether it's tips, whether it's, jobs I'm advertising, blogs, whatever it is. And aside from work stuff, I have noticed, apart from just your day-to-day job, I've noticed a lot of people will share things about thought leadership in terms of blog posts and things like that. Sometimes people have polls and stuff like that. One of my colleagues from housing recently did a poll, and it managed to get him quite a bit of, I would say, engagement on LinkedIn. So it's just another way to engage with your audience as well. And as I've already mentioned, this videos and pictures with your posts as well. I was saying this to Nancy actually last week, and I noticed that there's a lot of people who just literally, they will just share it, but without adding a comment, or they won't sort of add a picture with what they are posting. A picture is, I don't know how many times likely, but a lot more in terms of times likely to get clicked on to where someone's actually going to view your post. So definitely think about adding a picture into there as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about where you're going to get the content from as well, because I think it is quite important in terms of that. So I don't know if you guys do this already, but it would be a very good idea to subscribe to any industry newsletters. So I'll give you an example for me. For housing, we've got Inside Housing, so we've got subscription there, and everybody in our team actually reads the articles on a daily or weekly basis that are put out by chief execs or whoever it is that wants to comment on issues in housing. So just to give you an idea there as well. What I think is also quite important, if you're sort of thinking, oh, but do I need to look through the internet and see what I need to post? Or, am I just resharing stuff people have already shared? Google Alerts is a brilliant way to actually target the kind of stuff you want to share. So I've put the link on here anyway, and we will share this after, but you can actually set it to whether you want daily, weekly, or monthly. Sort of alerts that will get sent to your email. You just have to put in keywords that you have subscribed to, and then you will get the content, and then you can just click into the ones that you want to share. And these will be sort of, stuff that has been just recently shared. So, you're going to look very current when you are sharing your information as well. So another thing as well that I've tried on LinkedIn is, typing your keyword in your search. So for example, this is just me, stuff that I like to look up. So diversity, gender, leadership, stuff like that. You can put that in the search bar, which is at the top left. And then there's a bit where you can select, I think it says like people, posts, companies, that sort of thing. Click on posts and you can see what's been shared recently, get to grips with that. You can reshare something. That sort of thing is always a good piece. But also, if there are people in your network, they may not live in the UK, they could be living in the US, they could be living in the Netherlands, wherever it is. They would be sharing lots of these types of content that you're thinking, ooh, that's really interesting. Do follow them if you feel bold enough or really fancy connecting with them. Add them on LinkedIn. The worst that could happen is they don't accept your invitation, but you can still follow them without needing to actually add them as a contact as well. So that's one way of me just getting to know the housing and local government sectors as well, because I hadn't worked in them before Gates and B Sanderson. So I have connected with numerous, exec directors, chief execs, chairs of boards, non-exec directors, whatever it is. So what I tend to do, for me anyway, is whenever I do research, I always connect with people that I've spoken with, because if anything, it's just going to open up your network and, open up conversations with people who you wouldn't have necessarily, or they would have not necessarily seen you, or you wouldn't have seen them because you didn't connect with somebody that they knew, for example. So yeah, did you want to add anything, Nancy?
No, I think one of the things is that when you do see something that's interesting, you can, if they're in your network, send something to them personally, because it shows a bit more thoughtfulness, and that, you're thinking about that. You could say, oh, I saw you comment on this article, you might like this article. And again, that creates a dialogue. So it can be, your content doesn't have to be for the masses. Just because you've got 10,000 followers doesn't mean they're all active. I'd rather have 1,000 really good followers that I know I'm sharing information on a daily basis. So don't, it's about building the numbers, but also quality of the network so you can interact with them.
Absolutely, and that's a really good point, actually. And the number of times I've sent, messages to people in local government, so senior leaders in local government, just to say, I saw your piece on this and I thought it was really interesting, and then I've added them, and that's a nice way as well if you do want to add people as well. So yeah, and people like to hear about whether their content is actually engaging enough as well. And the fact that you are reaching out to them, as Nancy said as well, it is a very good shout, and it confirms that they are also sharing the right content and it's reaching the right audience as well. So just a few hints and tips really, and I'll show a few. Of the next slide was just a few pictures in terms of how I share stuff. So and I've said this already, definitely add a line to show your thoughts as well. It's more likely that you will get some form of engagement when you are doing that, because at the end of the day, if someone is just sharing something, it may just be that their boss or someone has asked them to just can you just share this in your network, or they've not given too much thought to it. Well, that's the kind of impression that that's the sort of impression that it's giving, if that makes sense. So and I always like to see what people's thoughts are on something that they've shared anyway. Engaging with people who comment on your posts as well. So that's a great way to sort of open up conversation and grow your network as well. And also, I'll show you an example of how I've done this, but giving credit to whoever has written or shared that post. So, so you don't have those copyright issues or anything like that as well. And a few people have actually asked about, do I share first thing on a Monday? Do I share, on a Friday, that sort of thing? So this is actually through stats that have come in. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are actually the best days to share, but timing wise as well, between 10 and 11 and between 3 and 5 local market time as well. So if you just think about it, right, if someone, they start work at 8:30 or 9, they're going to be busy focusing on emails and whatever it is that they need to sort out for the day. 10 and 11 o'clock, this is me anyway, I tend to go and have my toast. I'll go on LinkedIn, have my tea, have a browse, see what's happening. I'm sure a lot of people do this as well, not just me. And then, so this is sort of pre-COVID, but I guess it's going to start to happen post-COVID as well now. But, on the way home, the number of people I would see on their phones, on LinkedIn, on the train as well. So, people do look at that as well, which is just sort of towards the end of the workday. So yeah, so that those are sort of times and things I would suggest. Hashtags are a great way to get your post seen. And if you do, what you could do actually is, if you were to go and have a look at the hashtags in the search function on LinkedIn, you will see how many people subscribe to hashtags as well. So that's always a good way. And I always say rule of 3 for hashtags, for sure. And I'll put this sort of current hot 100 LinkedIn hashtags on in a sec, just to sort of show you how many people actually follow these hashtags as well. So next page now, so I'm just going to show you about how I share stuff. So this is just sharing my thoughts. So I'll just let you have a read of that. And I've also put hashtags on there. So parental leave, diversity, inclusion, because those are the themes that I picked up on from reading this article. So this was an article about a year and a half ago or so, just about, Vodafone offering 16 weeks fully paid parental leave. So this is both for mum and dad, just to post, sorry, as opposed to just it being for mums. So, it's something that I feel is quite relevant as well in this market and in this day and age. So yeah, I added my thoughts. So that's one way how you could add your thoughts and share an article. Another way how I've done it is I have actually given credit. So Nancy knows Binna, and he is actually very, very well known within the organizational psychology world. So yeah, so very big name there, and I have added him on LinkedIn now, and I do follow him, and I absolutely love seeing his posts. And there's this article that I saw that was really interesting, and I thought, you know, why not give him credit in this? And it actually opened up conversation, because he sent me a message on LinkedIn after, and then it just on private message, and then I was able to engage in conversation with him that way as well. So, you know, it's a great way to sort of, you know, get that conversation started with somebody who, you know, you quite admire as well on LinkedIn or within the industry. So yeah, so this is just one way how I have done it. And then just LinkedIn hashtags. I think this is quite interesting. So India is the #1 hashtag, so on LinkedIn. So you can see how many followers it has, and you can see the sort of engagement it has as well. So, and you can also see whether they've gone up as well. So you can see these 4 arrows here. So you've got marketing, markets, in technology, and I think it was innovation as well. Yeah, these are the ones which seem to be creeping up in terms of ranking order for, you know, top 100 LinkedIn hashtags. But you can just Google this anyway and have a look at the rest of the list. It is quite interesting. And then there, sorry, Nancy, we're going to say something?
Mindful of time, Del, so a lot of this will be on the slides
Yes.
that we sent to you by
sorry, yeah, no, that's fine. Just a couple of things really, so you can have a look at this. We'll send this to you anyway, but this is sort of local government hashtags that I actually found the other day, and these are just final tips. So we'll close here. Nancy, did you want to add?
No, I think the important thing is to say that we are all a brand, and we all need to manage it, and we're all at different stages, but online reputation is the way new business world is functioning, so we need to embrace it. And yeah, I think we can stop there and then take a few questions if we've got time, Helen.
Thank you very much. There is a question in the chat room which is yet to be answered. I think it's from Judson, that says, how can we learn about the search terms that will be used for roles we want? I think you answered it briefly.
Yeah, I think
in terms of looking for, you know.
Yeah, I think we just need to think about the job descriptions, the keywords that how people are describing the jobs, and you need to incorporate that into your LinkedIn profile. So if they were looking for, I don't know, transport planning, then put the word transport in there. Think about some of the key projects that you've worked on, or, you know, hashtag HS2 or something. So when you're liking things, follow them, so they'll follow you back. So I think using the keywords or key reports that have been published, or what government departments are doing, and try to incorporate that into your LinkedIn profile, into your biography, into people that you're following. So you're creating a trail.
Thank you very much. So we have 2 more minutes. Any more questions from the audience? Any question or interaction? If you wish to speak, please just raise your hands. I will hopefully pick it up. Let's see. Okay. If no one is interested in asking any more questions, I can't see any question.
I had one, if you don't mind.
Please
it's
go
Charlotte Croffey. I'm also at Gate B. Sanderson, and I thought it was just wonderful, the presentations we've just had. I think one of the reasons why people might be hesitant to use social media is because there's sometimes some cultural issues in terms of how it's perceived. So that might be something that we might want to look at another time.
Yeah,
I think
thank you very much.
The starting point is that, do you have a personal one? Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? And I think, you know, we're all on that journey of using those, and the younger generations are, you know, the millennials, Generation Z, you know, don't know a world without social media footprint. So we just need to kind of craft different messaging for different social media platforms. But we are on a journey. But you can start by having the offline, raising your profile within your organization. I think somebody's asked that in the chat. It's all about, go and be visible within corporate initiatives. We talked about this in previous seminar sessions. Get involved in, a change program. If you're being asked to participate or comment on a paper, get involved. If you've got staff affinity groups, get involved. If HR are asking opinion, be a staff rep. Start raising your profile. If you see something that someone's done really well in different part of the department, your company, go and say, well done. So there's lots of ways of doing that informally in an offline way, and then you can start building your confidence online. But if you want to be seen as somebody shaping the industry, part of that shaping means having growing your personal social media footprint. It's just a reality.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, I think you've answered the question by T. Williams, which is how do you promote yourself within the workplace? You already talked about when we had the first coaching section in November. The video is on the BAME Planners Network YouTube channel. You can watch that again. It talks about how you can promote yourself at the workplace, and it's also been mentioned now. Morgan asked a question. Do you recommend uploading CV and portfolios on your LinkedIn? And any data show that it will boost engagement? And is there any data?
I think having pictures of projects you've worked on is always nice. Dell's mentioned having pictures, and that's always a good one. CVs are, like I said, are really boring. Unless you've got something really interesting to say, then put them on. But, your LinkedIn is almost your CV anyway, because you're highlighting your key achievements, notable things that you're interested in. You're putting in your voluntary work. So it is a summary of your CV in a way, but with a bit of more detail. But yeah, I think you have to kind of gauge it, because people don't spend a lot of time reading them. So you want to capture attention, and having visuals does help that. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for that. Thank you, Nancy. That is really good advice. Yeah, because I did upload my CV and portfolio to my LinkedIn, and just wonder if that would be effective enough to boost my portfolio and then to reach out to more people through those the products that I have made. But thank you for your advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think if you kind of, if you're kind of putting it, hashtagging it as well, like residential developments, and you put that on, then people can see that. Or if you're, if you've built a road or a bridge, and this is, and maybe, I don't know, Slough Council is talking about something, you built something in Slough, you can just put it in. So you need to have an association with it.
Okay, I was looking for the video on Coaching 101. However, the link, our YouTube channel is BAME Planners Network. I'm just going to do that. So if anybody is interested, so that's it. Hopefully that comes up properly. And there's a few videos that we've shown. I think I'm going to end the session. We're already 3 minutes beyond the scheduled time. I would like to say a very big thank you to Nancy Scott, and a big thank you to Delicia Coutinho. Thank you very much to your organization for your support of the BAME Planners Network. And I'd like to thank every single person who turned up this afternoon. We've done this for every single planner because we know not many people know our best to promote themselves. And so please do use the tips that you got this afternoon. I'm certainly going to be reviewing my LinkedIn profile because I think I'm just out there. I've not really thought about branding. How do I promote myself? So following this session, I'm going to set aside some time over the weekend and go through my profile and make sure that I really enhance it. And for those who don't know Gatembi Sanderson, they are senior, you mainly recruit to senior management positions. And it's our aim as a BAME Planners Network to see more representation at the leadership roles, so hence we are having such sessions. So please, if you're in middle management, you want to move up to the next level, get in touch with Nancy, get in touch with Delicia. They will help you find your next role And, and if you want some coaching as well, if you just want them to look over your CV and help you prep, please do so. We want to see more chief planners who are from underrepresented groups, not just BMEs, women as well. So please do use their services. They're always willing to help. So thank you very much, Nancy. Once more, thank you, Delisha. And Charlotte, thanks for also joining us from your organization. So thank you, everyone, and have a nice lunch if you haven't eaten, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session. Thank you very much.